Where is everybody tuning in from? What part of the world are you in? Let us know. I'm streaming in from LA. Dean is in New York.
Welcome from New York. Sydney.
Boise. Canada. Washington, D.C. Seeing some familiar faces back this week.
Thank you for joining us. I love that we're all able to connect online on Zoom. It's really cool.
It's awesome. Okay, guys. So Jared and Brad are not making it today, but we have a really, really exciting live call planned today. Our director of marketing, Dean, is here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kennedy. I'm Zendrop's CMO. And we are going to be giving you guys a Canva crash course. A lot of you are probably familiar with Canva, as Canva is a really popular editing tool to create things like Facebook ads and graphics for your e-commerce store. And so Dean is our graphic design whiz here at Zendrop, and he has prepared a presentation and kind of a crash course to give you some basics and some tips and tricks to really learn more about Canva, and then we'll answer questions at the end. And there will be a replay on YouTube after this call, probably tomorrow. So anything you might have missed, you can go back and check on it tomorrow. So yeah, Dean, take it away.
Thank you, Kennedy. I appreciate it. It's really exciting to be on this side of the calls because as Andrea has asked if there's going to be a replay, I'm the guy that actually edits these videos and posts them on you, timestamped with all of your questions on YouTube to watch. So it's fun to be on this side. But yeah, like Kennedy said, I'm the director of marketing. So Kennedy and I work hand in hand in delivering the best content for you guys. And I appreciate the comments about being the Canva whiz. I'm going to try to share as much value with you guys as possible and answer your questions and help you guys with the graphic design aspect, which Kennedy and I can both tell you is a major part of running a business, whether it's organic content, traffic, paid traffic, making ads. You need to be able to create content. So without further ado, let me jump in and share my screen with you guys. And Kennedy, would you be able to enable that?
Right now.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let's do this. So first I wanted to go over proper creatives. So there's a couple of things whenever making ads or an Instagram, anything from an Instagram post to a Facebook ad that I always try to keep in mind. And that's first and foremost, you have to start off with your aspect ratio. So it might seem pretty obvious to some of you, but making a graphic for an Instagram story versus an Instagram post or a Facebook ad, it's going to be different sizing. And we'll go over that in just a minute here. Branding is very important. So making sure you understand your sites or your business's color codes or your hex codes, your typefaces and fonts. Those are really the big two that you want to keep in mind when building out creatives. Research. This one's pretty interesting. As you're scrolling through social media on a day-to-day basis, try to interact with relevant ads so that you see more and more of them. And as marketers, Kennedy and I can tell you, if you see an ad over and over and you see it every single day for weeks and weeks and weeks, that means that the advertiser is actually seeing an ROI on that ad. Otherwise, they wouldn't be running traffic to that specific creative for so long. And then, of course, you want to make sure you have a clear call to action. So whether that be the button or the actual copy. And so one thing that we're going to go over and try to keep in mind is that you don't want to put too much information in the customer or in the viewer's face in the actual graphic. You want to let a lot of the words be handled in the caption. So we're going to talk about how to find that happy medium between providing information and value within the graphic, but not bombarding them with wordy advertisements, because that doesn't resonate too well most of the time. And why Canva? So for a lot of you, like myself, don't tell Jared, but I don't have experience with Photoshop. So It's really easy to learn. It's cheap. It's really versatile. You can collaborate like there's no tomorrow in there. Kennedy and I practically live in Canva. We've got tons of workspaces that we share with each other. It's basically like a Google Drive in and of itself. So if you have a team, if you have a business partner, it's a great place to collaborate on different graphics and creative ideas. Yeah, and it's awesome for me too. I find it almost like a notepad. If I have an idea for a graphic, but I don't even know when I'll use it, I'll make it, maybe just a rough draft, and I'll just leave it there. And then when I get sparked with another idea, I'll revisit it, and it's always there in my Canva account, and I can just jump back in, pick up where I left off. So what I thought we would do today is go through some of the ins and outs of Canva. And what I'll do is I'll show you the homepage and how I would jump into working for the day if I were doing things. So this is our Zendrop workspace here. And so right off the bat, what I would do is I'd create a design, and whatever I was creating the design for, I'd select it here. So again, this goes back to the aspect ratio. I'd want to keep in mind, if I'm making an Instagram post, a story, that everything's going to be different. So I'll start off with an Instagram post, for example. I'll just open that up here. Over here, right in the middle of my screen, this is my workspace. And then I've got all of my assets over here on the side, and I'll go over all the different techniques that I would use to make appealing graphics for you. So over here is uploads. This is where I'd put my custom pictures or logos or assets that I would want to actually implement to make it my own. So whether you're trying to run traffic for a specific product or something like that, this is where you'd actually drag those files and store them. So, we've got the Zendrop logo and assets and stuff like that. Photos, Canva's got an amazing variety of stock photos that you can choose from. You can just pull anything that you want, do whatever you want to it, different effects and filters you could throw on them. Elements, this is one of my favorite places. If you might notice, gradients are used a lot with Zendrop. We love to use the classic square gradient, where we've got our sweet light purple into dark purple. Text, pretty self-explanatory. We'll take a deeper dive into that in a minute. Styles, this just gives you some good ideas for color palettes and hex codes. Audio, if you're looking to make a video ad with a little animation in there, this is a great place for you to use royalty-free music and tunes, so you don't have to scrape it off of YouTube. Video, this is awesome for some dynamic backgrounds to add in. You could go through the whole array. Standard backgrounds, and then some saved folders. So before I jump in here, Kennedy, do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, Andrea just asked, do you find that the quality is better with Canva Pro? If you're referring to the quality of content within the app or within the platform, I think Dean would agree with me. No, the quality is not different. The difference, I think, is the usability of the platform. You do not get access to a lot of the free stock images and free illustrations, or all of those things that come with Canva Pro. And that's why I think Canva Pro is so good. It's like so much cheaper than Photoshop, and it does literally the exact same thing.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. In terms of quality, I mean, if you're saving a file as a PNG, it doesn't matter if you're saving it from Google Images, Canva, Photoshop, it's all necessarily going to be the same.
Essentially. Desmond also asked, how do you usually use videos and backgrounds? Are we going to give a preview of that in a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I could take a couple minutes and show you how I do that, Desmond, and give you an example. But when you're using a video in a background, specifically, that's going to be for an advertisement or a graphic of your choice. But let me just come off the top of my head and come up with something here really quick. I won't take up too much time, Kennedy, and then I'll let you read some of the other questions. But let's say I'm advertising a product. I'll grab a video. Let's do something like this, maybe. Really cool beach scene. What I'll do is I'll expand it out to my liking. So maybe I'll expand it like this. So now I've got some cool waves in the background, and I can preview it up here in the top right. So I can preview what I've got so far. So I've got some waves. And now what I can do,
add text over it. Yeah.
Yep. What I can do, I won't take up too much time, but again, I can drop in something like this. Say, oh. Slap my logo in there, and then maybe I've got my product. This wouldn't really make too much sense because I'm trying to save as much time as possible. I'll remove the background on it. Trying to save as much time as possible for you guys. But maybe I have a tropical type brand and I want to do something like this. But you can see it's very dynamic, and it took me all of 15, 20 seconds, if that, to come up with this advertisement. Obviously, if you sit down and you schedule out more time, the sky is really the limit, and it really shows your creative ability. I appreciate it, Desmond. But yeah, I mean, it's really a blank slate. And the thing that we love about Canva is that it's just extremely dynamic. So, Desmond, at first you might ask yourself, hey, why would a video be useful? But you could see, I mean, if you run traffic with a dynamic ad like this, I'm sure it'll resonate with some people. So Debbie, I'm glad that you love Canva. I'm obsessed with Canva, so it's great.
Terry asked, do you keep a swipe file for ad ideas that you find interesting? Terry, I'm assuming you just mean a file somewhere where you can go back to old ads that you've seen online. We actually do that a lot, both of us. Our internal DMs are just constantly sharing ads back and forth that we find inspiration from. Another really great way to find high performing ads for design inspiration is if you go look at larger brands that are really similar to the brand that you are creating for your e-commerce store. So let's say we'll say women's leggings, for example. If you are selling women's leggings and you want to find well-performing ads, Lululemon is a very popular female leggings brand, would be a great way to go find their ads and mimic the way that they design their ads for your own store. So yeah, we keep an arsenal of ads at our disposal at all times, just because it's really nice to be able to spark creativity that way. But Facebook's ad transparency policy on their Facebook ads manager is really, really thorough, and you can basically search any ad that's being publicly run presently for any brand.
Yeah, and just to add on that, Kennedy, I think it's so important to keep this in mind. When you start your dropshipping store, you start your business, and you're looking for inspiration, there's no problem with going to other websites to get inspiration from websites, from product pages, from home pages, from logos, etc. So there's no reason that you can't go on Facebook, interact with, if you have a women's leggings brand, interact with Lululemon, interact with Gymshark, look at their ads and try to draw inspiration from those advertisements, just like you do for a website or a brand name or product pages. Like I said, anything like that. It's really important to draw inspiration from what's working, from people that are doing this at scale as well.
I couldn't agree more. Cool. Yeah, I'm looking at other questions. Do you suggest a go-to size for Canva design? And I'm assuming that they're just meaning typical ad for Facebook ads. So
what I'd recommend is three things really. In my head, when Kennedy comes to me with a new initiative and says we need to make some ads for X, Y, and Z, I always have three things in my head. We're gonna have vertical, which is I guess 1920 by 1080. We're going to have square, which is 1080 by 1080. And then we're going to have basically vertical, or horizontal, which is the same as vertical, except flop it around. So it's 1080 by 1920. And I can show you what those look like as well. So an Instagram story you see is 1080 by 1920. I might have mixed those up too, horizontal, whatnot. So that's simply going to look like this, vertical. And you've got another great thing about Canva is you've got awesome templates. So you can work with some of these things. So this would be something like an Instagram story. And then a Facebook ad would be, I guess if we do custom size, be 1920 by 1080. And that's going to be laying on its side. And then of course, an Instagram post is just going to be a 1-to-1, 1080 by 1080.
So yeah, those are the three we would recommend sticking with. Most likely, specifically considering we have the capability of running Instagram ads, Instagram story ads through Facebook as well. We always like to add a 16 by 9 ad or 1080 by 19. What is it, Dean? You know it better than me.
It's 1080 and 1920. I always mix them up too.
Because we were able to run them on Instagram stories as well, which is really, really high real estate right now. So stick with the square, stick with a vertical ad mostly, and then obviously the third being horizontal.
So I just saw, sorry, Kennedy, go ahead.
I think I was going to ask the same question you're seeing.
I just saw Debbie's comment. So make the same ad in all three sizes. So yes and no. Sometimes an ad might not translate 100% or perfectly into all three sizes. So Kennedy, is it okay if I show the example with the US products from Zendrop? Yeah. So a great example that just popped into my mind, Debbie, is a campaign that I was doing for some organic content, where we basically announced that we're selling 250,000 or 240,000 US based products on Zendrop. So as you can see, this is a very clearly a Instagram story. So this was great. It worked very well for vertical. The design just fit for vertical. Now, if I were to translate this to be horizontal or just a square, it wouldn't really make much sense. So I took this same idea and I went into a square, and this is what I came out with. So I decided to make this a little bit larger, make more boxes, shift the text accordingly, and actually removed some different things, as you can see. So yes and no, Debbie. It's very similar. You can see that it's basically promoting the same thing, but you can see the design aspects, how they differ from each other. So I hope that answers your question. But again, you might make something that's a little bit more simple than this, clear call to action. Maybe you got a product, you can resize it and save yourself time and be my guest. But most of the time they won't translate 100%. You might resize and you're like, I like it, but it's not really, it's like 90% there. You might want to move something, add something, remove something, and then you'll be satisfied.
Terry asks, can you store your own elements online with the regular Canva, or should we have the premium to do this? You do have to have a premium account in order to store your own elements and upload your own files. So, but again, it's so much cheaper than Photoshop. That's why we love it so much, with a lot of different capabilities. So it's definitely worth the upgrade.
I'm not 100% sure. You might be able to store your own elements and upload. Yeah, I haven't had Canva for Lite in a while. I've been using Pro for a while. They might have changed it.
Yeah, you can't upload your own without Pro.
I'm with Kennedy on that one though. Canva Pro is extremely, I mean, if you're going to pay somebody to build out ads for you, I'd much rather just pay the $13 a month for Canva Pro, and build them out yourself. I'd agree. Yeah, and while we're looking for another question to answer, I just want to show a couple of my favorite, I mean, without a doubt, features of Canva Pro that I'd say is worth upgrading in and of itself is something like this. Let me jump over here. So if I were to go here and let's just change the background here to a color. If I were to take a picture, an image that's not transparent, what I could do is simply click on effects, and then click background remover and give it a second. And I mean, for somebody that doesn't know how to use Photoshop or never took the time, this was worth it for me. This was the selling point for me. I could resize it and make it whatever size I want. And then here's another cool trick. Just while Kennedy, you have any questions for me coming up?
Let's keep doing this demonstration.
We'll keep moving. So what I'll do is I'll Command C this, I'll copy it, I'll just paste it. So now I've got two of them, same size. I'll click this one in the back. This is something that I do 30 times a day for my work with Zendrop. I'll click the first one that I have in the back. I'll change it to either grayscale or street. I'll adjust it. I'll zoom up that brightness all the way, bring up the contrast all the way. And then I'll give it a little blur, a blur that I like, maybe 25. And then what I do is I bring this right back on top. And I've got a sweet glow underneath whatever I'm trying to promote. And it just makes it pop. It's almost like a nice outline. Yeah, Andrea, of course, we're happy to help. And so these are just subtle things that you might not think it's doing much, but if somebody's scrolling and they see a watch and they see this image versus the watch without that sweet underglow outline, it's just a subliminal thing that will make them think this is much higher production quality. And it could be the difference of, one more click for you, or, you never know. But I think if you take the additional 20 seconds to just do something like that, it goes a long way.
Very cool. Back to the question about how to match designs for templates with 3 different sizes. Desmond, how I would recommend coming about this is it honestly does take a lot of practice. It's not something that you can immediately just go into a design tool such as Canva and immediately be able to see one graphic that's a 1x1 and make it into a 16x9. It requires some playing around. If you saw Dean's 2 examples, Dean, do you want to pull up the US Direct Instagram story again?
Of course.
There. So if we look at the Instagram story, we see the design elements that Dean really needed to put into the graphic. But if we click on the US Direct post,
the Instagram post,
yeah, he had to readjust different aspects of this graphic so that it fit for the square. However, it's the same design in a lot of ways. So it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of being able to, I would honestly look at a lot of the different inspirations on Facebook already, the examples of ads that are running and doing well, because a lot of brands use this strategy of taking the same design and converting it for different aspect ratios. So when you start doing your own market research, you will see examples of this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So while we wait for another question, one thing that I think is extremely important is your typeface as well. So our Zendrop logo has a specific font, which is this font right here. And so when we're putting out content, if you see content without a logo for reputable brands like Nike or Amazon, it's the little subtle branding things that you don't realize, like the text. Like this is the Zendrop text. This is actually, if I were to, without ruining that, or you know what, I can do this. I'll show you. That is the exact text that is used for our logo. And that's why everything seems to fit. So we've got some more questions coming in.
Yeah, can you remove logos, item number for product from AliExpress's products? Yes, you can, as long as it's not covering or going over the actual product photo itself. You can remove any background from the images with Canva. Can you make a round design with background color? Does that make sense? Can you elaborate a little bit, Debbie? Unless Dean knows what you're talking about.
I will give it a shot, but if you could elaborate, that'd be great.
Do you mean curved text, or do you mean something different? Debbie is raising her hand. Let's allow her to talk for a second.
I just figured it'd be easier to say it. No, I make a lot of designs with the cartoon dog that I have, but like, see how you've got a square right there with the gray background? I want round in just gray. In other words, not the corners, and I can't figure that out yet.
So what would you be using that for specifically?
It would be probably print on demand, something to the design.
Yep.
But I just want the round part, not the whole square, to be gray. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'll show you exactly what to do right now. So what I would do is I would do this. So I would open up, honestly, I'd open up a square. And the reason why is because if you open up a square, you'll be able to get the exact proportions that you need for the circle. So what I did was, this was the first. I also want to make this side note, Debbie, and everybody listening. When you're doing design, whether it's Photoshop or Canva, you always want to think about the design as layers. So my first step was layer number 1. So you want to work your way from the background to the middle ground, all the way to the foreground, like you're baking a cake or something. You start from the beginning, then you put icing on it, and then the sprinkles to make it look nice. So you lay down just a shape. So you mentioned that there's like dogs in there. So let's just find a picture of a dog.
Yeah.
So this guy. Another reason we love Canva, we've got a dog in about 2 seconds. So now what I do is, say you're happy with this, you like the way this looks, I download it. And what you're going to do, this is a Canva Pro feature, you're going to click transparent background. And what that's going to do is anything that I didn't do. So the white that you could see here, the only 2 things that I did was the circle, the gradient circle, and the golden retriever. So anything that I didn't do is going to be transparent. So now if I download that and I let that load, save it, if I open that up and I drag it to my monitor, you can see this here, right?
So the background is now transparent.
Right. So this gray, if you put this on your website, whatever color your background is going to be that.
Excellent. That's exactly what I want. Thank you.
Cool. Of course. And that goes for any other shape. If you want triangles, stars, you do that. Cool. Maybe I'll set that as my wallpaper or something for a little bit.
That would be cute. If you guys have any other specific design elements that you want to watch Dean try to do, and probably succeed, that's also a good use of time. So let us know. But any other questions you have specifically about Canva? So save on PNG only. Yes, if you want it to be transparent, it has to be PNG only.
Yes, but if you're saving a video ad, you're going to save it as an MP4, preferably, or a GIF. But I'd say PNGs and MP4s are always my go-to. To be honest, I couldn't really tell you the minor differences between like a PNG and a JPEG, but PNGs and
file size. The difference between PNG and JPEG is just file size.
Sure, yeah.
So typically I'll save everything in JPEG unless there is a transparent background, and then you'll want to save in PNG. Someone's asking if it's as good as Photoshop. So Liam, I'll speak on this, and I'll have Dean also speak on this. Is it as good as Photoshop? No, Photoshop was created for the pure purpose of creating incredible designs from a computer. However, Photoshop is extensive to learn how to use. It takes years to fully master the platform, and Canva is a simplified, easy to use, streamlined version of Photoshop. Not only is it easier to use, you're provided with a lot of different resources such as video footage, stock images, design elements without you having to create it yourself. There's also thousands of fonts also uploaded. So it's like Photoshop and more. There is, just like any other platform, there will be some limitations in terms of different design aspects that you can implement on the platform. But Dean and I have never run into an issue so far.
Yeah, I'd say Photoshop. Photoshop is, if you wanted to literally make like somebody like punching through a wall from just a green screen, you can do that. But that's, I mean, people go to, you know, a 4-year school to learn how to perfect that. And to be honest, when it comes to making ads, I mean, you could go real high production quality, these really intense photoshopped crazy images. Or, I mean, like Kenny said, I've never ran into a you know, an instance where I was limited with Canva, or I couldn't do what I wanted to do with Canva.
And
you know,
yeah, and the reality is, you guys being in dropshipping and e-commerce, you're probably testing a multitude of products on a monthly basis. If you aren't, you should be. And so until you're finding those winning products. So you're probably testing a lot of products. And what gets really time consuming is learning how to design ads for those products. That is why I think Canva is such an awesome alternative to sitting down and learning Photoshop for an expensive amount of time. Because you want something quick and easy. You want something to be able to push out on your Facebook ads and Google ads as fast as possible. So that is why we think Canva is a better alternative, specifically for dropshippers, because it is so efficient. Can you make a picture clickable to lead to your website? So Marsha, I believe that's your name. I believe it depends on where the image is. If you're referring to a clickable PDF, you cannot create a clickable PDF in Canva. You can create a PDF and then create a clickable in Adobe, is how we do it. If you're referring to making a clickable image on your website, yes. For Shopify, all you have to do is link that image to a product. But that would be a Shopify how-to more so than a Canva how-to. Some print on demands have a specific file extension that they want, sometimes different based on the product. That's really good information, Debbie. So yeah, if you are doing print on demand or something of the sort, make sure you just check on the service that you're using and make sure that you're downloading files in the correct format. We also have 2 more questions, Dean, and then let's go back to some different demos. How do you download images from Zendrop for Canva for your ads? So if you're referring to product images, you should honestly be able to right click and save. It's really, really simple. Just right click the image and save to your computer.
yeah, I could even
Shopify.
I could do a quick 2-minute walkthrough if that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what I'd do is I'd come to my product, I'd right click it, save image.
Oh, it's only going to do in web format.
Okay.
Um,
Probably screenshot it, right?
You can either screenshot it or it's probably more easily downloaded off of Shopify.
So if you need it, if you just want to grab it from here, you could just Shift Command 4 will allow you to screen grab. If you're on a MacBook, that's Shift Command 4, and then you pick your coordinates. Now you grab that file. I've got it on my other monitor right now. And you go back into Canva, and then you drag that file simply. You just drop it on over here. I've got it. And now remember, it does not have the background. It still has a background. So I'd go back to my effects and I'd take that off. And as you can see, boom, I can do whatever I want with it now.
Cool. Super easy, not complicated. Basically does it for you. Cool. Okay, Freddie, we're gonna disable talking, and if you figure out how to handle your mic, just raise your hand again. But Terry just asked, can you suggest any learning guides for Canva? Canva actually has a lot of learning resources in and of itself, but I think I can speak for myself and probably Dean as well. The way I learned Canva best is just doing things like what Dean is doing right now. I played around with a million different features until I got comfortable with the platform. There's also, Dean, will you go to the templates for a second?
Of course. Templates.
Yes. So there are there's thousands of Canva templates. Let's go search product.
Okay. Yeah. If I ever log into Canva and I'm not in this bolt.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
It's a simple one. So they have lots of different templates for products already in the platform itself. And this is a great way to gain inspiration for when you're starting to feel more confident in creating your own graphics, but you can also use these graphics at no cost with the Pro membership. These are free. Like there's no copyright or anything of the sort for using these designs. You're allowed to. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes it easier if you're not really a design guru or you don't enjoy designing like Dean and I do. You can easily come find a lot of different great designs already on the platform.
Yeah. And on that note, Kennedy, something really, really helpful just popped into my head too. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump in and show you guys something really quick. This was sort of like Kennedy said, play around on it. That's the best thing you could possibly do. If this is your first time ever logging into Canva, go to templates, pick a cool template, and then move stuff around, add stuff, change stuff, do whatever you want to it. And you'll see how it's already like previously laid out and things will start making more sense to you. The reason I just wanted to pause for a second is because you just reminded me, Kennedy, when I first started playing around on Canva, there were two tools and this is Canva free. So like when you log into Canva, you have access to these two tools. These were my first two major breakthroughs on Canva. So the first, it's the transparent tool and the positioning tool. And I'll show you guys both of them right now. So the first thing that was my breakthrough was this. So let's just say I want to add some texture to this, right? Let's say I want to add some stars. And I grab these stars, or let's just grab these stars or this confetti, right? Let's say I want to add some cool confetti, and I pull it, I cover the whole thing, but I'm like, oh, like I really didn't want to cover up this pineapple and the coconut and my words. What I do is I'd select it and then I'd go over here to the position right now. So right now I'm toggled on the stars. So if I go to position, I could simply move it backwards and forwards. And this goes back to what I was talking about with these layers. So if I move it backwards, as you see, it was very subtle. It just went behind my first layer, which right now is my text. So I go backwards, and now I still, again, I want it behind the coconut and the pineapple. Click backwards again, and now it's behind. But you know what? I'm looking at it. It's just a little bit too in your face. So what I'll do is I'll click on this. It's this little checkerboard gradient. This is a transparency tool. Click on it, and I simply have one bar to toggle, and I'll just make it a little bit more subtle. Minor details. So it looks like I didn't even add anything, but again, it just makes it pop more, and you get more and more creative with it. If you look at the Zendrop Instagram, you'll start picking up on these subtleties, little background things, and super transparent. And there's times where I get super subtle with things that it's almost at, 0 transparency or a 7, just for a tiny little hint of texture. But as you start getting used to, like Debbie said, it's really fun to play with, and you'll see you can really do anything you want with this. So it's great.
Any other questions regarding any design elements specifically? Is there something you want to learn how to do on Canva that you can visualize working for your e-commerce store ads?
Kennedy, would we be able to do an ad for someone?
Yeah, we would be happy to help someone out with an ad. If you would like to get a Facebook ad made for your dropshipping store, raise your hand, come on up, and we can hash out what your store is and how we can create an ad for you. Oh, don't be shy, you guys.
As we're waiting, I'll just continue to go through some things that might be helpful. Here's a very important thing to keep in mind is, as you're building out creatives, if you really want things to be specifically yours, there's a color finder. I always just Google color finder, and it's like the first one. It's this one that starts off with HTML. It's great. What I do is, let's say this is my website's logo, shoptrends.com or something. What I could do is grab it, go to my color finder, and simply upload it, click it, and grab these colors. So what I did was I just clicked on this yellow, and I get my hex code. So now I'm not guessing. I can simply always get that yellow. And I could always get this pink that I want. And if you're making a lot of creatives, I'd suggest just like writing these down. Like I have all the Zendrop color codes written down, so I'm never guessing, which purple. Just a good feature.
Not only that, Canva Pro gives you the opportunity to save all of your branding elements as well. So, Dean, if you want to go to that section of the homepage.
Yeah, let's do that.
Ours is not built out here because I believe this is my account. So if you go over to brand kit on the left-hand side, it is not built out here for us on this Canva because I believe this is my personal Canva, correct? We're under my personal Canva. Yeah. But what you can see here is you can create a color palette. You can import specific fonts. You can also import your logos so that they're all easily reachable when you are designing. So though that untitled palette, those 2 untitled palettes that you see, I don't even know where they're there actually, but if those were your brand colors, you would easily be able to grab from those colors when you're designing. Yes, html-colorcodes.com. Can you create a gift? Gail asks. Yes.
Yep, absolutely. I can show that really quick. If you want to grab something like this, maybe, and this guy. And so you can download it. So it's obviously a video with a little image, you know, your product, your something along the lines of your brand. You switch the file from MP4 to GIF. So it's simply a GIF, simply, I guess, is the file, so to say. So you'd click that and you download it as a GIF, excuse me. What do you mean by a 360 image? 360 degrees or something?
Yeah, Liam, can you elaborate a little bit on what that means? Where it spins, like where it spins the product around. So that actually, unless the actual product image itself is something that you have a 360 view of, no. Typically all of those 360 spin around graphics that you're seeing were taken with a 3D camera or a video camera that was spun around the product and then created into an image. That is something that the actual production of the product photo or image would have to do before you could bring it to Canva. But if you did have a video, a 360 video of your product already, you could easily import that into Canva and use it in part of your designs.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I have a non-related Canva question that I'm gonna answer really fast. So I'm trying to create an account with Zendrop, but I have to link your shop, which I do not have yet. What should I do? So you actually don't have to have a completed shop, so to speak, on Shopify in order to connect your Shopify account to Zendrop. All it's simply asking is for the URL that's at the very top of your Shopify dashboard. So what you'll need to do is literally just create a Shopify account. When you go to create your Zendrop account, just copy and paste the URL at the top of your Shopify account into Zendrop and you'll get into Zendrop, no problem. Cool. Any other questions for Dean and I? It is very rare you get two of Zendrop's marketing gurus on a call together. We're usually too busy for this. So we're really excited to be here. Any marketing questions in particular? Doesn't necessarily have to be just about Canva. We're happy to help with any marketing level e-commerce questions.
As we
last minute,
any last minute tips, I can go over some some things that I do sometimes. This is a good tip that when I learned was very helpful for making cool creatives was if you have you know, let's say these cool like turquoise into purple gradient is your brand colors, right? And you want an image of the city to kind of emulate that. What you can do is you can simply lay that that color gradient down first, and then layer number two, you can make the city or whatever image you want. And you can lay down, first thing you want to do is lay down a grayscale filter and then use my favorite transparency tool and actually take some of that color off of it. Or I'm sorry, just make it a little bit see-through. And now look, you've got your cool brand colors shining through. Oops, I lost it. Shining right through. Shining right through this cool image. So, you know, something like this, if I were to, you know, if Kennedy were to we were to get on our daily meeting and she says, hey, we need some Instagram content or we need some creatives. come up with some cool ideas. This is something that I would honestly do on a day-to-day basis. I would sit there, and if I'm not feeling inspired, I'd drop in Zendrop's colors, and then I'd be like, maybe I want to put out some content about XYZ, and then I'd drop the image, take the color out of it, make it transparent, and now I've got a nice, not a clean canvas, but a really cool background to work with. So maybe you want to post some informational content. You want to put a little title saying like 4 tips on ABC, and then you just list them out here. But it's not just a basic blue background. It's this really cool branded gradient with a nice city skyline. That's a good tip, I'd say.
I think it's a great tip. Gail asks, for new dropshippers, do you suggest photo ads or video ads to start with? Typically, in general, video ads do better for e-commerce stores. However, they're like normal photo ads also do fine as well. So I would recommend, if you're not feeling fully confident utilizing the video features on Canva, or you don't have the resources to create video ads, take what you can get, create some standard graphics. But the more you play with it, the more you should be able to get better at the video ads.
Absolutely.
Cool. Do you run multiple ads at once and then turn others off? Yeah, so Jared frequently mentions what's called the lazy man testing method, which is typically one of the best ways to test a lot of new products when you are first starting out, whether it's a new store concept, a new niche, or it's your first time dropshipping. So what he'll basically recommend is you'll start with 10 to 20 different products and different assets for those products. And then he'll turn them off incrementally over a period of 3 days by putting $5 to $10 behind each ad. The ones who are not performing, he'll turn off slowly over the course of 3 to 4 days. So if you look up Jared's lazy man testing method, there's so much more about it. We also have an entire resource on Zendrop for pro members called Zendrop Academy. It's if you want to pull up Zendrop Academy, Dean, we can show them really quickly.
Of course.
Zendrop Academy is a fully extensive Facebook ads crash course. They actually used to sell this course. Jared and Dean was part of the sales team too, for thousands of dollars, but it is free at no extra charge for all Zendrop Pro members. So really, really cool. Video unavailable. It does work. I'm not sure what's happening.
It's probably because this is just the test account. I'm not logged into Zendrop.
However, it is on Zendrop Pro. So if you have any questions specifically about Facebook ads, this is where I would go. Dean, I'm going to turn off your screen sharing right now, just so that we can wrap up. But yeah, so that is essentially how I would go into learning about Facebook ads if you haven't already. Same with again, but it's all practice. This is the same for Canva. This is the same for Facebook ads. The more you're working with these platforms, specifically if you're a new drop shipper, the easier it'll be to get immersed in getting better at them.
Mm-hmm. But it's always good to test. I'd say if anybody asks me like what's the best thing to do, A or B, my answer is always going to be we don't know until we try. Honestly, Gail, like you could pay people hundreds and hundreds of dollars to make you high production video ads, and then you could take a picture of a dog in a circle, and that could be your winning ad. You really don't know until you test. So again, it depends on your store, it depends on your product, it depends on your demographic, it depends on a lot of different things. So I'd say test them both out to start off, and read the data as best as you can.
Agreed. Cool. Any other last minute questions before we wrap up this week's Zendrop Live? Dean, you were exceptionally helpful. I loved the Canva demonstration. I'm a geek over Canva, just like you are. So I am so excited to be able to share all of our tips and tricks with the team. And Debbie, no, we don't have a live tomorrow. The live was today instead of tomorrow because some of the team is out of town. So this is the day that worked best for everyone. But yeah, thank you guys so much. This will be on YouTube in the next couple of days. So if you want to come back and go back to some of the different strategies Dean went over, you are more than welcome. Also, you can feel free to DM the Zendrop Instagram account with any follow-up questions if you want to know more or want elaboration on anything that Dean or I went over. Feel free to DM us. We both run the Instagram account, so we're there. And other than that, I am so excited to see you guys next week. Everyone have a great weekend. Dean, do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for being on here and listening. And like Kennedy said, if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to shoot us a DM on Instagram and let us know. But play around with it. Just keep pushing along. And I love seeing you guys on the live. And this will be up on YouTube. Thanks again for being here, Kennedy. Thanks for hosting this with me. So
Welcome. All right, you guys. Everyone have a great night.
all right, bye.